Tell Me More podcast is being recorded on the lands of the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation. We pay our respects to elders past and present and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander cultures. My name is Olivia Molly Rogers, and I'm excited to get comfortable in the uncomfortable with you and remind you that nobody is perfect and everybody has something going on behind the scenes that you may not know about. I hope you enjoy the podcast. Welcome back to Tell Me More. I am joined today by the beautiful Amy Gerard, who I'm very excited to chat to because she's one of the most honest people you will ever hear from.
Very honest, sometimes to my detriment.
Well, you have just published a book, so you are now an author.
I am.
I've got it right here in my hot little hands.
Strap yourself in.
It is so good.
Yeah.
You are so funny. Your bio says you are a Sydney Instagram personality, podcast presenter of 2 podcasts, brand ambassador, mum and wife, many things.
All of the things.
Can you tell me how all of that started? Because from what I gather, you didn't have a following prior to having kids.
Yeah, no, I was just like a everyday, not Joe Blow. Is that what they call dead people? No. Everyday mum who just kind of took to the social platform as most women do these days. And I was just, at the time, I would just like share photos of Ryan and I when we first started dating, and we went over to America and we did like America and Tulum, and we were doing this beautiful little honeymoon period, and we'd just been together for about 6 months, and then before we knew it, I fell pregnant. And I think the whole following came about on Instagram was because I would just share everything that I was going through in life, but from a really honest and relatable viewpoint. And I've been really, really honest for as long as I can remember. I've been an oversharer since birth. Like, I remember standing up in year 8 and announcing to my class that I had become a woman and I had my period. I don't know why. I don't know why I felt the need to announce that to. I was at a co-ed school and all the men would have been like, what? I've always been very honest with what I talk about, and that's I kind of just been portraying that as well on the social platform. And I think the following grew through COVID as well.
Okay.
And it was where I just kind of used to take the mickey out of myself a lot, have a laugh at my own expense. I'm quite self-deprecating, take the piss out of my husband, have a laugh at my kids, and just keep things real super lighthearted and funny, because COVID was a dark, boring time, you know?
It was a shit show. Yeah.
It was a shit. Oh, am I allowed to swear on here?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll keep it like PG swear words.
Do they exist?
I mean, yeah, sure.
I read that in your book, you said that when you first had Charlie, who's your eldest,
Firstborn, yep,
that you did start posting on Instagram like the gorgeous photos with gushy captions, and then you're like, hold on a second, this is not real life.
Well, no, it was more when I first had my daughter, I would see like other people and their babies, and what I used to be fed from the platform was really beautiful, aesthetically pleasing photos. Oh, my heart beating on the outside. Oh, don't get me wrong, babies are adorable and, you know, you've grown them and so you love them to bits. But what I didn't see was people being like, wow, like I am dog shit tired. Like every part of my body is hurting and my nipples look like burnt potato gems and everything is sore down below and this baby doesn't sleep. And I didn't want to ever shit can motherhood, but I just wanted to be like, hey, like, is this normal that I'm loving her and in love with her, but also really struggling?
Yeah.
And so I wanted to, when I would write about stuff, I would just write about it from exactly how I was feeling. And sometimes I think all it takes is one person to open up a conversation and be a little bit vulnerable and be like, hey, I'm really struggling. And I was the person that was doing that back when I had a daughter first, because I was like one of the first people in my girlfriends group to have a child. But also on socials, I just didn't really see anyone else that was speaking as openly and honestly. I mean, I'm sure they exist, not saying I was the first person to ever tell it like it was, but yeah, I just thought it was important to share it all, like the roller coaster ride that is parenting, and that in turn helped me connect with other women who felt comfortable enough sharing their highs and lows as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do think there's definitely, I mean, in all facets of life, there's pressure from social media to make everything look perfect.
Yes.
Because you think across the board it is.
Yeah.
But social media is such a small snippet of your life.
That's right.
And you only ever, generally, not you, but a lot of people, and I'm guilty of it, like you post the things
The highlights reel.
Yeah, the fun bits.
Yeah. I think you can do whatever you like on social media. Like I've got friends who only ever post the beautiful photos, and their Instagram is very much a highlights reel, and it's very top line and surface level. And that's fine. Some people are a little bit more private, whereas I went down a different route, and I was like, I'm exposing all of the things. I'm oversharing, warts and all. And yes, here's some beautiful photos of me and my kids, but also here's me looking like a bag of dicks and having not slept and being so tired and then struggling with my second born and having really challenging times. I took away the filter and I just shared my truths, which each to their own. Like not a lot of people probably feel comfortable doing that, but that's my lane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really admire that. Do you ever feel what I call a vulnerability hangover? Like sometimes if I've shared something that's like really vulnerable, I feel good about it and I put it out there, but then like suddenly I'm like, oof, like I feel weird.
I sometimes, not a vulnerability hangover, but yes, sometimes if I am on the platform and I have, I don't know, tried to do some talking and then I've visibly broken down, like I'm happy to share that, right? Because most women out there will be like, oh, she's just at her absolute max and she's just having a bit of a breakdown. But
it's normal.
Yeah, it is normal and it's relatable and makes other people feel seen. But then sometimes because of the following size that I have, you get so many beautiful women and sometimes men reaching out and wanting to like offer advice or just, say solidarity, like you're not in this alone, and they want to be there and kind of envelope you in this like weird social media invisible hug, which is beautiful. But then what happens is I can't get back to like 1/10 of them. And so they just go unread and then I just look like an asshole.
I don't think you look like an asshole, but I know you feel like the pressure to get back to people when they're being really lovely. Yeah.
That's right.
But I think sometimes you just open a can of worms that you can never close after that.
That's right.
Yeah.
Sometimes people are offering advice and you're like, oh shit, I actually wasn't asking for advice. And
you're putting it out. You're not actually, that can be tricky.
Coming for me.
Yeah. How have you coped with the change from not having an audience to suddenly having, people recognizing you and thinking they know, well, they kind of do know everything, everything that you share, which is a lot.
Yeah. It has been, obviously it wasn't like an overnight thing. I didn't go on maths and instantly become this, I don't know, sensation overnight. Wow, me calling myself a sensation. It wasn't like that. It was very slow and very organic. And I will say 97% of my audience is females. So, and predominantly mums or women that have just recently got married and stuff. What I've realized is over time, I've had to slowly start to pull back on what I share in regards to my children.
Yeah.
Not intentionally, but just because now that they're at school, I do want to give them a little bit more, respect their privacy a little bit more. Obviously when they're newborns and babies, they're like, I was a stay-at-home mum for 5 years. I was sharing, they were all my stories to tell. Whereas now they're their own little individual people and I kind of pull back from sharing a little bit of them as much. I will still openly talk about stuff with my husband, but I'm yet to have a really bad experience. I have lots of women will come up to me and say hello and introduce themselves. My dad gets stopped a lot, Big B. He absolutely loves it. Reckons he hates it, but he loves it. People will go up to him and take photos with him and then send them to me.
That's so cute.
It's hilarious. My husband can go nowhere. I was like, I have eyes on you everywhere, motherfucker. Sorry, cut that out if you need to. He was literally in Paris for work because he travels a lot for work. And I had a lady message me going, I just saw your husband in blah, blah shop buying a little girl's jumper. I was like, wow, she's so descriptive. So she's clocked him, clocked what he's buying, and then messaged me. And I was like, that's right, Ryan. I'm everywhere. He had a lady down in Adelaide. He was at a bar and he's quite aware of it now. So he said he walked into this bar and he said, I clocked this table and there was like two girls and they were just eyeing me off, right? And he's an attractive man. And he was like, maybe they thought I was attractive. He goes, but then I was thinking, definitely not. Like they're definitely followers of Amy. And so then they've made their way over eventually. And he used to do this thing and I called it Towelgate, where he would have a shower. Like I always make the bed in the morning and he would have a shower and then I don't even know if he was trying to piss me off, but he would just throw his wet towel on my side of the bed. I mean, why? We've got we've got a towel rack. We've got hooks everywhere. Doesn't even put it on his side. It's my side. So there was this big thing where for a couple of months there, I would just throw it in the pool or I'd throw it in the bin or I'd lay it on the front of the road so cars were driving over it, which was quite funny. Anyway, it was around that time this lady's approached him in the bar and going, hang up your fucking bath towel. And he was like, oh my God, this is really weird. I was like, that's right.
They're always supporting you. I love that.
Yeah, we're all about the girls.
So good.
Yeah.
Why do you think it is so important to be so honest about motherhood as you have been?
I think when you are honest about it, I think it just makes so many other mums feel seen and heard and less alone, because I know as a mum myself, like when I see another woman, like I went to the shops the other day and there was a woman there and she had 3 kids, exactly the same ages as mine, an older daughter and 2 boys. And I was watching her. She was trying to order a coffee and her daughter was just doing her own thing and the boys were just fighting, right? They love to wrestle. They were fighting. One was pushing the other one over and then the other one pinched and they were getting into this like full MMA fight out in the streets. And she kept trying to come and break them up. You sit over there. You sit over there. She'd go back in to try and order. And they'd be at it again. And I was like, wow, like that's my life. And so I went up to her and I said, do you need a hand? Like, do you want me to sit with them or do you want me to finish your order? She was like, no, it's fine. And I said, I just need you to know that's exactly what my life looks like at home and you're doing a top job.
Oh, that's
and
so nice.
A little bit of reassurance, because I know when I have my boys, they're just constantly fighting, constantly. And I know when I put something up, I've done like a post about it, like, hey, like, does anyone know when the young boys stop fighting? Most people are like, never. But it does. It just reassures you and makes you know that it's not out of the norm. What you're doing and what you're going through is completely normal. Motherhood's hard. Yeah. And I just think when you speak openly and honestly about it, people feel seen. And I think that's so important.
I loved how you consistently had the theme of like expectation versus reality and that you spoke about when, you'd see toddlers before you had kids. You'd be like, oh, when I'm a mum, my toddler will never have a tanty at the supermarket and I will never shut them up with an iPad or all of those things. Yeah. Can you talk to me about the reality of that?
That is, I'm going to say this honestly. I feel like everyone is an incredible parent and thinks that they're going to be like the world's best parent until they become one. I'm going to say it. Even my brother and his wife, they're pregnant with their first child. And I know that they probably judge my parenting sometimes and they probably judge my younger brother's parenting sometimes, thinking that they're going to do it better, obviously, right? Because I was that person as well. I would see toddlers, throwing down in the supermarkets and I would, oh man, like 28-year-old Amy, she was a bit of an asshole, right? Judgy little bitch. I would love to go back there and just give myself an uppercut, but I didn't need to because I had 3 kids instead.
They uppercut you daily.
They uppercut me daily. My first one, to be honest though, Charlie was real chill, bit of a textbook baby, quite easy. I saw these boy mums and I was like, wow, like these boys are quite violent, aren't they? Like they're really rough. and there's one over there and he's headbutting the floor, and there's one over there and he's kicking and oh my God, there's that boy over there is being carried out like a football. You know, thank God, like Charlie's never behaved like that.
Because I'm such a good mum.
That's right. There is no bad children. There's just bad parents.
Oh,
you loser, Amy. And so the baby gods were like, let's send her 2 boys. Let's feed her some humble pie. And to be honest, I have been eating the humble pie ever since, because let me tell you, from Charlie to my next born, Bobby, it was like being hit by a semi-trailer. Huge emotions, really, really struggled to regulate them. There was just so much going on. I was like, I'm so sorry, I was an asshole. Like, this is my karma. Chalk and cheese. But even just parenting, like I honestly thought that parenting was going to be quite simple. Like, I would say something and they would listen. It doesn't go like that. They love to push the boundaries. Babies are really sweet and adorable, and they lure you into a false sense of security, and you're like, oh my God, this parenting is amazing. Yes, I'm sleep deprived, but look, they're immobile and they don't talk back and they're so sweet and cute. And then toddlers are just a whole nother season, and they will push you to your absolute limits. And you have to have wine. You have to have wine, so much wine, and you have to have a great support network and mum friends, and you have to lean on them. And that, I think, is so important. And I think without that, oh man, I would have stopped at 1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people do for that reason.
I think if you don't have them in close succession and you get to like the toddler 3-year-old, it's hard to then go back, because 3's hard. I don't want to scare you though. Children are an absolute blessing.
No, I did say before we started recording, reading this book, I was like, wow, this is amazing. This is going to be so great for all my friends who are new mums, and my sister who's got 2 little ones, and lots of people in my life with little kids. And then I was like, wow, like I get to some parts and I'm like, do I want kids so badly. But yeah, I definitely had moments reading your book where I'm like, wow, okay.
Well, you know what? All I've done, hopefully, is just prepare you.
Yeah.
So you probably, and you know what? Sometimes I think, give me worst case. So then when you do go in it, you might have a really fantastic birth and really angelic children.
Yeah.
And I might have actually done you a solid.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I feel like you already have. Yeah.
Done.
So your pregnancies were also really challenging. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, look, I don't know if I'm just a huge complainer, but again, my mum, I blame her for this, because she froths being pregnant, absolutely loves being pregnant, like used to talk about it all the time. Oh, it's the best time of my life. So again, she actually set me up for failure, because I went in waiting to have that best time of my life, and it was not the best time of my life. I was so angry and so hungry. My first pregnancy, I put on 30 kilos. I didn't even get to 40 weeks. I was literally a rectangle by the time I gave birth. I had a lot of issues. Like with my first, I had polyhydramnios, which is excess fluid in so I was ginormous, and she also came early because of that. She just kind of like exploded out of me. Bobby, my pregnancy was him, very different. No nausea. Had like they talk about postnatal depression. I had like this weird prenatal weird depression. I used to sit on my couches and cry after I'd put Charlie to bed. And I was like, I'm a pretty happy-go-lucky, glass half full girl. And I was like, why am I crying? And for like a good 2 months, I felt like I had this dark cloud over me. And I didn't even realize it. I ended up speaking to my GP about it. She was like, it's really common. Like, it's quite common in pregnancy, then people don't talk about it enough, but you can actually get prenatal depression where your hormones are just so all over the joint. But I came out of that. I ended up having cholestasis with him, which is when I tell you, itchy hands and feet, but not like I'm not talking like scratch, scratch, scratch. I'm talking I would get up in the middle of the night and go and get forks out of my drawers and serrated knives. And
Oh.
I was so itchy. It was like there was bugs underneath my skin. Anyway, what that is it's a bile acid buildup in my liver, which is fine for me, just super annoying. But as soon as I found that out, I got induced the next day because it's quite dangerous if it crosses over to the placenta to the baby. And then with Kobe, I had no time to even worry about all the symptoms, but I had 2 small babies and kids to look after. And that was the hardest 9 months of my life.
Chaos,
yeah. So also I've painted such lovely photos, like pictures of all these seasons.
No, but I just love how honest you are because I
Yeah.
think we need more of that for sure. Now, obviously, I'm not a mother, but there was so much in your book that I could relate to. I mean, I think we are very similar.
Yes.
When you were listing your likes and dislikes, your hate of mouth noises
Oh.
and all of those things, I was like, whoa, she's in my brain. And your lists of songs,
Yeah.
same. And then also the fact that you had quite a multitude of boyfriends
Yes.
when you were growing up also can relate.
Yeah.
You said that you learned something from all of them.
Yes.
I would love for you to tell me a bit about them, maybe the biggest lessons or something along the way.
Everybody does things differently, and I've got some girlfriends who have been with their partners since high school. And I have been like a serial relationship girl, and it had nothing to do with me needing that codependency or anything like that. I love being on my own. I actually love being on my own, but I also love sharing my life with people, and I would just fall into relationships somehow.
Because you're a catch.
But let's run with that for sure. But I actually loved that I did date a variety of different men because I really took different things away from each relationship. And I think by the time I was 28, that's how old was I when I met Ryan? Yeah, by the time I was 28, I kind of knew exactly what was non-negotiable for me in a relationship versus what I could do without. Like I'm very, very family orientated. So I'm super, super close with my family. And that is so important for me. I'm really affectionate as well. So affection's obviously something that was really, I actually show my husband no affection now. So he's going to be like, what? But I show my kids affection. I give it out there. And then I've got nothing for him. But what I realized that wasn't important to me was like, I didn't need someone who was super wealthy, and I didn't need somebody who drove a certain car or looked a certain way. Like for me, being able to have good conversation was really important. Like communication is such a big factor for me in my marriage. But in relationships, like I would have boyfriends, and over time I would realize certain boyfriends, like we actually didn't have that much to talk about.
Yeah, you said the long distance
the New Zealand guy. Yeah.
I could definitely relate to that because I'd had a long distance relationship where you do give your best self when you're together.
That's right.
And then you're not doing any of the mundane normal things.
Yes.
And then once you move in together or one of you moves, whatever happens, and you end up spending more time together, you're like,
wow.
The reason we lasted as a long distance couple was because we're good in small doses and we're not good the rest of the time.
That's exactly. And my mum actually said to me, she was like, you're going to go over there and you're going to get a real taste of reality. Because before that, we just spent 2 days together. He would fly to Sydney and I would fly to New Zealand. And every time he'd come, I'd had arranged a massive weekend and everything was booked in and planned, and vice versa. We'd go to wineries and everything.
Yeah, so it was a holiday.
It was like a little romance every time we went. And then when I moved over there and moved in, and he would just go to work every day, and then he'd get home and I'd be like, so what
are we going to talk about?
How was your day today? Well, I have completely not completely grasped what this relationship looks like from a normal standpoint.
It's crazy when, like, as someone who talks a lot, me too.
Yep.
When you're with someone that, like, I've had exes where I'd be sitting in a restaurant and I'm looking at him and I'm like, I don't know what to talk about with you. And then I'd look around the restaurant and I'm like, are we the only ones not talking?
Yes.
You need good conversation. It is so important.
That's exactly right. And I think from every relationship that I did have, I I really did take something away from it. So then when I met Ryan, he was like super family orientated, really charismatic, and like we could just go out and we would talk for hours and hours and hours. And he had like a really shitty job and he barely worked. And I don't know, like there was so many, I wasn't like I was ticking boxes, but I was like, and he's far from perfect and I'm far from perfect. But the three key things for me that was super, super important in a relationship were there with him. So
Yeah.
it was good. It was
Like
it's like my little relationship recipe.
I love that.
Yeah.
Now, I really also enjoyed in your book how honest you were about sex, because I also think that not enough people are.
Yeah.
And the highs and lows and, you know, your libido going off to Mexico.
Yeah.
Can you tell me more about that?
Yeah, look, I could have written all about my sex life in my earlier days as well, but I spared Ryan all those details. But I think the change in intimacy in relationships when there's kids and when there's not kids is so different. Like it's chalk and cheese in my personal experience anyway. And collectively throughout my girlfriend group, we all seem to be on the same page. Ryan and I as well, we only had 6 months together, really. 6 months, and we were real hot for each other and we were doing it like little bunny rabbits all the time, and it was great, as you should be in the honeymoon period. And then boom, I'm pregnant. And then I just turned into this beluga whale for 9 months. I was ginormous. It was a walking rectangle. And then I had our first baby and my body almost felt foreign to me. I'm not going to lie, I feel like I gave birth to my G-spot because, and hear me out, it's going to use these poor men. They're
learning lots of things.
There was certain positions with that I would do in the bedroom that I could always get off, right? And then I've had my daughter and I was like, where's my G-spot gone? Why does everything feel so foreign to me? And I think having children, it moves shit around. I mean, I probably didn't birth it, but it's definitely moved under a rib cage or something like that. We have to put in a little bit more work with the sex now. But not only that, after I've had my third kid, my libido was like non-existent. Again, it was in Mexico. I mean, it went just to like New Zealand after Charlie, and then I want to say maybe like Singapore after my second, and then by the time I had Kobe, it was on the other side of the world. I was like, I couldn't even get in contact with it. Right? It's gone.
Lost your mojo.
Lost my mojo. And I tell you, I don't know if this is too much for your podcast, but like I remember being like, I've always been a really sexual person and really comfortable with my own body and really like, I love self-pleasure. Can we go there?
Yeah.
Good. And I remember being like, I've lost, that sexual beast that is in me normally. And I remember trying to have I'm going to try and find a nice word, not my crude word that I normally use, a self-pleasure moment. In bed one day, the kids were asleep, Ryan was at work, and I just couldn't get there. And I was like, oh, am I asexual now? Like, what's happened to me? Couldn't get there. I was like, I think I cried on the phone to Ryan. I was like, why am I not horny anymore? Anyway, he was like, just take it down a notch, Amy. And I think the thing is, I am so big on talking about that because I want to advocate for other women so that they know that it is so normal to feel that way. And lo and behold, when Kobe turned 2, there's quite a long period there where I was, my libido is still in Tulum. There was a long period there, but after Kobe turned 2 and I started getting a little bit of time for myself back, I started going to Pilates. I started doing something for myself. I started small amounts of exercise. And slowly I felt her coming back to me. I felt that, not the old Amy, because she's dead and gone. There's a new, better Amy here now, but I felt like I was kind of coming back to life. My libido had started its way home. I touched base with it in LA and it was like, I'm coming, babe. I'm almost there. Let's do a few more Pilates classes. Get yourself, walking and
I'll come back.
And I'll come back. And she has. It was a process though. And I think it's so important to talk about that. Sometimes I would have sex with Ryan. A lot of the times I would have sex with Ryan and I would do it for him because I loved him. Once we started, it was always good. It was just that the desire to do it had gone.
Yeah.
And that came from having 3 small kids under 4 and being absolutely exhausted and touched out, and I was just depleted.
Also, I think like physiologically or biologically, like the less that you do it, the less you want it.
That's exactly right.
And the more you do it, the more you want it.
Exactly right. Yeah. So after like a good 6-month stint, I was like, I could give or take this. Right? Maybe I could go a whole year celibacy. Ryan's like, please God, no. But
yeah, I love your honesty about that. I think for people to know that it is, again, another season and that it's not going to be like that forever.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just think if you've got a partner who is struggling with it, I think it's so important to just be honest and communicate that. And intimacy doesn't have to be just sex. It could be having a date night and spending time together, having a glass of wine, watching a movie together, kissing. It might lead to that, but it also might not. It doesn't always have to be penetrative sex. I think that you can still stay close and be intimate in other ways with your partner. So Ryan and I was very open and honest about things with him. I have no issue whatsoever with him sorting himself out. So he may have been in a relationship with someone from Pornhub. Fine. Whatever you've got to do. But we're good now. Yeah. And I was fine with it. He was fine with it. We've come back together. And from all of the stories that I have with my girlfriends after having kids, it seems to be quite a common theme. So you're not alone, women out there.
The libido will come back from Mexico.
Yeah.
Something that I also really related to was when you spoke about your insecurities as a kid.
Yes.
And teenager.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that? There was a story when you were talking about your freckles and the young boys, and
yes,
you got emotional. I was listening to it and I was crying. I was actually on the plane crying listening to that because I felt for you so much in young Amy, but also it's so relatable.
Oh, and that really caught me off guard. When I was recording that, I had no intention of crying, but I just kind of got choked up because I remember that moment and I remember how it made me feel. I did not peak young age, right? Let's run with that.
You were cute.
Oh, super cute. But my mum, I'm like half English, half Aussie, and anyone who has freckles knows that every time you go out in the sun, they come out. There's thousands of them that will come out and they get real dark. And my mum was always like, she's a real natural person and she's always like, in the sun. I mean, I was like, I need to put on fake tan, Mum. She's like, you need to go in the sun. And I'm like, wow, I mean, I wish I just used fake tan. But anyway, I was really freckly and I had like strawberry blonde hair, which was curly, and she would brush it out. And I looked like Sideshow Bob. But you know what? For ages and ages and ages, I never cared. I was a huge tomboy, only had brothers. My mum also a tomboy, never really cared. And then it wasn't until my year 10 formal that I was like starting to be like, oh, maybe I should put in some effort. And I remember my year 10 formal dress was fluorescent blue. And I was so ghostly white. I looked quite unwell, actually. I was like, because again, my mum wouldn't let me wear fake tan. And I had like blue eyeshadow on and everything like this. And then I remember going to that after party and talking to the boys, and the boys, you know, obviously they'd started to take notice of other girls at that point. And then we were chatting, and my girlfriend was like, oh, do you like, I don't even know his name, Jason, whatever, let's call him Jason. And I was like, yeah, he's really cute, blah, blah, blah. And then when we've walked inside and they've gone, oh my God, like she's covered in freckles. And like, it sounds so ridiculous. Like, yeah, I've got freckles, who cares? But when you're 16.
It doesn't sound ridiculous. It's those comments stick with you. And if it's already
and
something
insecurity.
that you've worried about, but you tell yourself it's not a big deal, but then you hear someone else say it, you're like, oh, well, you're proving that I'm right, that my negative thoughts are true.
That's exactly right. And I just remember in that feeling so unlovable and so like, and then I went on this weird tangent where I used to wear foundation on my skin because I wanted to cover them up. I want to go back and hug her so badly but I feel like everyone in their teenage years has hang-ups and has insecurities, and they're usually so ridiculous, but at the time they are so huge and they're like your whole world revolves around them. I walked around like a walking skid mark. Every time I walked around past someone, I'd leave a skid mark of foundation on them because I hated them so much. I think it is all part of growing up. And my mum and dad used to just reiterate to me that you are a beautiful person inside, Amy, and that is what matters. And that never really rings true. As a young kid, you're like, I want to be pretty on the outside. But it's only now that I've grown up and I've had kids and I want to be a really good example for Charlie. I don't want her to be focused on her looks. I want her to realize that her looks, to be honest, they really don't matter. And it's about being a good person and thinking of others and being inclusive and all of that kind of stuff. I'm trying to do what my parents have done to me. But also I've just gotten to a point now where I've realized that my looks, they truly don't matter. The people who are part of my life, my friends and my family, they all love me for me. I used to think I would never, I'm jumping here now. This is where I start rambling. I used to wear a full face of makeup, have my hair done and wear like tight fitting dresses with heels every single day to work. And then I remember seeing mums in like tracksuits and mum buns. And I would say to my girlfriend, I would never let myself go after having children. I'm always going to put in this much effort. Again, then I had children. And I think I lived in a tracksuit for about 3 years. And I don't think I wash my hair most weeks. And you just realize it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It truly doesn't matter.
I think we spend so much time nitpicking the little things, thinking that everyone else sees it the way that you do, but no one cares about your appearance as much as you do.
Yeah. And I think my mum always used to say, you have to love yourself as a natural being. You have to love yourself fresh face with your curly hair. And then when you get dressed up and do all your makeup and do your hair and you're like, wow, that's just icing on the top. But you need to be able to love yourself as you are first. And so I try to install the same thing with Charlie. I mean, my mum tried the same thing with me and it didn't work either. And it probably won't work on Charlie. It's just something that evolves and grows over time.
Well, I think you can sort of know it as a young kid, then you lose it for a bit and then you come back.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you think that you got back to, I know we just said that, it's something that comes with age.
Yeah.
But how did you really start to believe, that you were worthy and that those other little, superficial things didn't matter?
I think having children really changed my whole perception on my own self. Like I stopped doubting myself, and having a child is by far the hardest thing that you'll do. And being a stay-at-home mum is also incredibly challenging. But what it does, it fills you with so much confidence, because not only have you just created a life, but then you're keeping it alive and you're raising it, and you have to quickly check in on yourself and make sure that you're all good in order to be able to raise them to the best of your ability. It just gave me the confidence to be like, hey, you've got this, Amy. And you're so much, like, you're so on top of things, and you are so much more than your outside facade. Like, you are a creator of life. Like, you have created life. You're invincible now. Who cares what you look like? You're a bloody goddess. And yeah, I think having children just put everything into perspective for me. Like, they're my world, and I want to be a super confident, secure mum in order to raise them the right way. I
loved your letter to your 21-year-old self.
Yeah.
Obviously, we don't have all of the time to share the entire thing, but what is a piece of advice that you would give to young Amy?
Oh God. I mean, Where do I start? I'm going to say this though. I would love to go back in time and tell her to stay the hell out of solariums. Because Pasty Amy, once she lived in the UK, people over there, they have this thing called SAD disease, which is seasonal affective disorder, because the weather is so miserable. And people literally get prescribed light. And I just took that and said, oh, solarium use. Okay. And then I covered my face in the solarium, but I used to put like heat activated cream all over my body, and I smelled like burnt flesh for about 5 years. But when I tell you I was so dark, I would go back in time and say, do not use the solarium, Amy.
Yeah, that's really good advice.
I have the décolletage of an 85-year-old.
Oh, you do
I'm
not.
a fossil from the neck down. I covered my face every time, sunscreen and a towel, but from the neck down, and it's from, like, I'm not, they don't even let you go 2 days in a row. So I found 2 different places and I'd go every day.
Oh.
Learn from my mistakes, guys.
Yeah.
Do not go to solariums. I mean, thank God they're banned now.
They are, but I have a sneaky friend who will be listening to this, and I hope that this is sinking in. Please, I say all the time, stop going.
Yep, and
they're banned for a reason.
They're banned for a reason. And honestly, I've had I've had multiple basal cell carcinomas cut out. I have to have my skin check every 6 months now.
Wow.
Because I was a naughty girl.
Okay, that's really good advice.
A really tanned naughty girl.
Now, we are going to wrap this up with a segment called Oranges and Lemons. Your lemon, it could be of the day or of the last few days, is something a bit more negative that's happened.
Oh, God.
And then your orange is your positive.
A win. My lemon is, and it's still an evolving lemon.
A growing lemon?
It's I hope it's not a growing lemon, but we're renovating our house at the moment, our family home. And I went back on Tuesday to have a little walkthrough with our builder. And he brought me into a room and he said, oh, hey, I need to flag something with you. And he walked me into a bathroom area and he goes, pretty sure you've got termites. And I said, no, we don't. And he goes, that's definitely termite. And I said, no. And he goes, yeah, get a termite lady in. And the termite lady came and she goes, I won't be able to tell unless I strip all the walls downstairs. And I said, let's just say hypothetically, I just turn a blind eye and we don't strip any walls down. Like, how long do I have until the house falls down? She was like, I can't answer that. I can't give you that advice. Anyway, so that's my lemon. I'm hoping, she did say they're not active. So hopefully it is my childhood home. So if they are active, I'm going to ask my dad for a refund.
But isn't it cop luck? That's talk about
right.
in your book.
Cop luck.
I think it's fine.
It's going to be on my side. Cop luck. Let's just keep reiterating that. And my orange, I've got an absolute perler here, because we're at a rental property at the moment and I've had all this PR around the book. I have not been able to get on top of my washing. And as a family of 5, I have to wash every day. And when we moved houses and then I had to hit the ground running, oh God, the monster. Pardon me. I prepared you. You can edit that out. You can leave it in. It's fine. After moving over the Easter weekend and then hit the ground running with the book launch, I think I was behind like almost 9 days. So I could have filled an entire room with the washing sheets, towels, everything. Anyway, I have found a washing lady. She comes to my house. She picks up the baskets, drives them home, washes, folds them, and then drops them back to me.
Oh,
she's
an angel.
So cheap. I've actually said to her, you're undercharging. And then I also gave her a little shout out on the gram and I said, just if you do get lots of work, don't forget me. But also hike up your prices because anyway, she comes twice a week now and she is like, I almost cry when she drives into my driveway. I just want to hug her. She's like, I'm just here for the washing, babe.
Hug and stroke her hair.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, that's my orange for sure.
That's a great orange.
Yeah. Gosh, she's an angel.
My lemon was a couple of days ago. I was in an Uber and had a really creepy driver. He had been creepy throughout the ride, asking kind of inappropriate questions. which happens more often than you would think. And then as I was getting out, he said to me, oh, it was a weird handle. And he said, you pull the lever back. And I was like, okay, cool. And I moved across to get out the safe side. And he said, oh, and he looks at me through the mirror. He's like, I don't always tell girls how to get out so I can force them to stay in and keep me company for the rest of the day.
Oh, God.
Disgusting.
That is very creepy.
Oh, so creepy.
And you were on your own?
I was on my own, but
Yeah.
I was already like halfway out the door. And as I closed the door, I said to myself, that was fucking creepy. But then I'm like, why didn't I just say that to him? Or what? Like, I wish I had said something.
It's such a weird thing, right? Because I'm the same as you. I read your post and you want to be that person that calls it out, but then I also worry that would put you in danger.
Yeah.
Right?
You worry about your safety. Yeah.
That's right. I'm very much a and just get out of there as quick as possible.
And then you think of all the things that you could have said or
right.
could have done after the fact.
Yeah.
I think the flip side of that, I guess an orange of the situation was I reported it to Uber. They responded really well,
Good.
really quickly. They won't tell me exactly what happens to the driver, but they put a ban between you and the driver, so you can never be
pick you
matched
up.
with them again.
Perfect.
They refunded my ride. They
Good.
gave me a voucher, and then if he's already been reported before, he'll be banned.
Amazing.
I think that they get warnings, and it depends on the severity. But yeah, my positive of that is that it actually does do something. You know, sometimes you think, oh, if I report it, nothing's going to happen anyway. But my advice to people who ever have a creepy driver is always report it, because if they are a creep and they need to be reported multiple times, then they won't be there anymore. And,
Absolutely.
you know, no other girls will have to deal with that situation or worse.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah. Sick of these creeps.
Yes. Too many of them at the moment.
So many.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank
Where can
you.
people find you and find this wonderful book?
To be honest, I'm everywhere at the moment.
I'm everywhere.
I'm just whoring myself around all the bookshops, Booktopia, Dimmicks, Amazon, Big W, Maya. Yeah, I'm all over the place.
All over
just
the place.
getting around.
And on Instagram?
On Instagram, as in like you can buy it.
Well, no. What is your Instagram?
Oh, what is my Instagram?
We'll put it in the show notes.
My
but-
Instagram is at amy.gerard.
Perfect.
It's plain and simple. It used to be Ames001.
Oh, no,
You know,
you've
at
made
the
it
start.
easier now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What am I like? Double O. What's the fucking thing? What's the punchy line? Who's 001? James Bond?
Do you mean 007?
Oh, just cut that whole area out.
But also your 2 podcasts, so Beyond the Likes.
Yes, Beyond the Likes is kind of just an extension of my Instagram, and you're going to get anything and anyone on there. Ryan, Lisa, my kids. We have guests on. Sometimes I'm just monologuing from my wardrobe. And then I've got Beyond the Chaos, which is more of a parenting help one. So we get listeners sending in with their questions, and I do that with Jen Muir, who's the parenting guru.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining me, Amy, and thank you for writing this book. I loved it, and I recommend it to anyone who is a young parent or a new parent.
Yeah.
And also anyone who's not, because I bloody loved it.
Yeah, and I didn't want it to just be for parents either. I want it to be for anyone, and I hope that you can relate to other parts of the chapters, right? If you're not a parent, there's heaps of shit in there that you could relate to regardless.
Heaps of shit. Yeah, good shit.
So much good shit.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Pleasure. Thanks for listening to Tell Me More. This show wouldn't be possible without you. If you'd like to show your support, please subscribe or follow the podcast on your favourite platforms, and don't forget you can watch full episodes on YouTube and Spotify.